Mr. Hamadeh, you recognize for 5 minutes.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. And gentlemen, Secretary Anderson and Admiral Bradley, I think you guys make an incredible team, so I would just encourage you to continue building that relationship. Admiral Bradley, I know you've talked about irregular triad before, cyber, special operations, and space. Could you, for this committee and for the public, just describe what that is?
Congressman, thank you. I talk about it generally when we're talking about the ubiquitous technical surveillance or ubiquitous information environment. It might be useful to just start there and say, what in the world is that? Well, we probably all know that more and more of the world spends more and more of its time in the virtual domain. You only have to look at your screen time indicator on your cell phones to be able to recognize that is in fact the case. And it is true that that time that you spend making more of your information available to the world is a vulnerability to you. It's a boon for our adversaries. But it's also an advantage for us, looking at our adversaries who adhere and fall into that same trap. And so that reality, that is the ubiquitous information environment. In order to take advantage of that, and we do, through publicly available information, commercially acquirable information, and when appropriate, authorized and within legal bounds, clandestinely accessible information, we can know incredibly more about both our adversaries and the societies within which those adversaries are operating that will allow us to be far more precise and far more lethal in our operations when they're required, or far more effective in those operations. But in order to do that, we need to merge those three disciplines that you just described in that new triad. The cyber capability, of course, the maneuver in the virtual domain to be able to access and gain access to all that information. In almost every case, that information transits through a space segment between one part of the globe and the other. Being able to intersect that or to be able to lever that, to control it, to have freedom of maneuver there is critical. And then finally, I mentioned your soft placement and access around the globe in over 80 countries, some 6,500 operators who have relationships that force multiply out to thousands, even more, give us the ability to both lever our physical placement and access with the virtual placement and access that our Cybercom and NSA teammates have through the space segment to be able to lever all of that to our national interests. That's really what we're talking about when we discuss the space, soft, cyber triad.
Right, and given the Army is cutting 3,000 special operation positions, would this impede in trying to implement this irregular triad?
Congressman, any reduction, of course, has to be adjusted, and most of those billets that are being adjusted and moved out are in the intelligence, communications, and logistics disciplines. And we completely understand why and how they're doing that, because frankly, the services recognize that they need to build the same kind of capability that SOF has leveraged to be able to manifest this, but it does come at a cost. We're adjusting and working with the services on how we might lever their augmentation from other fielded formations to make up for it, but it is an adjustment.
Okay. And Mr. Secretary, you know, with social media and AI rising right now, and we know that this is a 24/7 information warfare. We can just look at the most recent example with Iran right now. A lot of Americans don't know what's real. They don't know what's fake. What changes from Congress would help improve how we run overseas influence campaigns with the speed of this modern warfare that we're in?
Thank you, Congressman. I'm probably going to sound like a broken record, but when we and Admiral Bradley talk about modernization, that is truly what it comes from. And when Congressman Scott was mentioning the information operations world, we're trying to build information operation warriors, individuals that are specifically honed in on the information environment. And we've done some internal looking at ourselves to see if we're structured the right way, specifically not just within our ODAs and our SEAL teams and our raiders, but specifically within our information operations spectrum. So we've been working, and as you're well aware, Congressman, a majority of those service members preside in the Army, but we've worked with United States Army Special Operations Command and looking at what that future looks like, because as we talk about modernization, autonomy, AI, all those other things, our information warriors, our cyber warriors are at a different type of level than, say, I or Admiral Bradley. So we need to make sure we're structured properly, and we're absolutely moving forward with that, Congressman.
Yeah, and especially, you know, with Iran cutting off 90% of the internet access, I think it's important that we don't also lose sight in the most basics. Leaflet drops, what we used to always do back in the day. And with that, I yield back.